Hi everyone! A couple of people asked me to do a video to better explain my Draping for Novices tutorial, and that makes sense because draping is so abstract to read about that it's better to see it for yourself. And just as a note, I'm not a professional. I don't know if these are actual techniques, but I learned them from personal experience, and I figure a lot of people could use them. So if you would like to, please keep watching! You're just going to need a couple of things when you're draping. First off is your foundation fabric. This is the same one I used on my actual dress. I'm using the matte side as the right side and the shiny side as the wrong side because I don't like the shine. It's just a personal preference. I didn't underline this piece like I actually did in my dress bodice, but I would highly suggest it just because it gives you more structure, which is kind of necessary in a strapless dress like I'm making. Polyester chiffon for the actual draping. The polyester really didn't bother me. It's a little less luxurious, but it does the job fine. These are actually two different colored fabrics. I hope that comes up on the video, but I did not do this in my actual dress. I actually used the same exact shade as this on my dress, but I did two different colors so that you'd be able to see it a little bit better on camera. You're going to need scissors, obviously, as many pins as you can find, a needle for basting, some very bright, strong colored thread for basting so that you can see it when you can take it out, and if you're doing any seams on an area that'll be seen on the final product, I suggest a clear nylon thread. First of all, you're going to have to excuse my horribly lopsided dress form. It came like this. It's really annoying, but I got over it. And you really do need a dress form to be able to drape because you need to be able to make the fabric hold to the curves of the body, and you can't sew on your own body, unfortunately, yet. So I'm stuck with this one for now. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a couple of pins, and you're going to pin your piece of fabric in place. And this one I'm going to make the back of my dress bodice. And you want to make it pretty taut so that it hugs the curves of the dress form. Just like that. I've got my draping fabric, and it's just a scrap fabric. If you really wanted it to drape well, you could cut it on the bias, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to deal with that. And so what we're going to do first is decide what direction I want my fabric to go. And usually you would want your back fabric seams to meet either across in a horizontal line or in a V shape. And I really like the V shape. I think it's really pretty, so we're going to go with that today. So I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to kind of get the feel for it. I'm going to hold at this like fulcrum point and sort of see where, if I pinned the fabric here, how the drapes would fall, how exaggerated the V shape would be. And I think, at least for this tutorial, I'll go for a pretty exaggerated V. And I like where the folds are right now and the shape they're giving my back, so I'm going to put a pin here. And I probably want to pin it twice because this area is going to go under a lot of stress. So I'm just going to kind of pin it, and you can play around with it for a few minutes, hours, like I did the first time. And now you're going to see how the fabric lays, and you can see, that's really pretty. You're going to see that you might not be able to get all the way over here or all the way on this side of the fabric, and don't worry about it. You can always make adjustments, and I can show you how later. But you're just going to kind of play with the fabric right now and see how you like it, how big you want your gathers to be. And I don't want them too big this time, so I'll just do an example. You're going to take just any really piece of fabric and pin it in place. I'm going to pin this up there so that I know I don't want to be too wasteful and miss both sides by running out of fabric, so I'm going to pin this up here to remind myself. But I'm just going to see where my fabric ends, and I'm going to take a piece, just any random piece, and I'm going to pull it. And you can see that my fingers and this pin make a pleat. I'm going to find the edge of my fabric, which is right here. This is the seam. And we're going to just just put a pin there. Now I'm going to gather again, starting from the top instead this time. I like that a lot. So I'm going to take a pin and place it here. And you just keep playing with the fabric until you get a shape that you like. I'm going to show you a couple more examples. I'm going to take this piece and pull it and pin it in place. This is a little bit more of a wild ruching than I did on my actual dress. Mine is a little more orderly, more pleated. What I did instead was I actually folded it over with my fingers like that. But you can do whatever really suits you, and keep playing with it, and just take your time. If you need to go back and readjust from the very beginning, that's completely fine, which I might do since I'm running out of fabric this direction, and just come back when you're ready. As you can probably tell, I had to do the pleating again a second time because it was bothering me the first time. Okay, we're getting a little up close and personal with my draping. You can see the draping stitches I've been talking about. And it's finished everywhere except here where I need to fix it. But it might have been confusing when you read the tutorial what I said about when you're out of fabric, when you don't have enough to reach the seam, which is here for me. Actually, I ran out of where did I run out of fabric? I ran out of fabric here. And if you can see the two edges. What I did to fix it was I finished draping this piece of fabric here, this piece here. Then what I did was I laid the next fabric on top of it in the same direction, and I made a fold like this, and I folded it over the raw edge, and I'm going to sew it with clear nylon thread when I'm done with the dress, and it'll look like just one of the other folds. I actually did that here, where one piece of fabric is going this way, one is going this way, and I actually have little clear threads, and you can see where I've already sewn it so that it won't show when I'm wearing it. It just turned out marvelous. Now all you're going to do after you finish pinning is kind of trim the edges of your fabric so that it's not so crazy with all of the excess draping fabric that you have. Now you're ready to start to baste these two pieces of fabric together. I'm going to go over the fold just to make sure that it's secure, and if you need to, you can backstitch. So you're just going to keep sewing like this all the way around the piece. And you see here how the fold isn't completely held by the string. So what I'm going to do is going to backstitch that one. So I'm going to go back over the fold and through it again, just to make sure that it holds in place when I remove the pins. Now you see the pins go kind of crazy when you're working with them, so just kind of take them out as you go. It really helps. There we go. I'm just going to finish this last little flip it. And you can tie a knot if you want at every seam, but it gets kind of tedious. So that's how you sew it. I'm not going to sew the whole thing because I actually have a dress to sew, but now that you see it, you can get a better idea of what I did with each piece for the back and the front of my actual dress. And I like to baste, if I can, in the seam allowance so that it's easier to find once you've sewn the piece permanently to the lining, to another piece, etc. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it helped a little bit more to understand my little tips and tricks about my first experience with draping, and just wanted to say good luck to anyone who's trying this for the first time because of me. It's really not as bad once you start to get the feel for it. It might take a while, but please don't give up. It looks brilliant whether you do it in polyester, silk, whatever, and it turned out really well. So from a novice to any novices out there, you can do this.